Welcome back to Cards and Comics. So today in my collections video, I'm going to talk about my 63 top set. And this is baseball, but this is my partial top set. So this is a set I've talked about or, a few times maybe in videos, but it's something that has been on hiatus for, well over 6 years. I haven't really looked at it, the checklist or, kind of what I need, but I have an entire box. Kind of pan over here, you can see it's full of 63 Topps cards. And the thing is like, and what I want to talk about today is, set collecting and how important it is to the hobby today versus what it used to be. But also, me, going back into some sets I started, a lot of these sets I started before I moved to New York. But now, that I've kind of gotten to a spot where, I've put together a few of my, bigger player collections. And, now that I'm kind of slowing down because I've got a lot of the Griffey cards and Mays cards and Clementes done and Aaron cards, I don't get them very often. Do I start back up the 63 top set to continue to collect vintage and keep me kind of going, with something that I don't need to, that isn't quite as hard to find. And cards that, still to me are awesome looking cards and fun to collect. So, as I go through here and show you the collection, I also want to talk about, the importance of collecting and some of my ideas about what the hobby can do, the companies can do to kind of make set collecting fun again, or to incentivize collectors to collect sets, because I feel it is sort of a lost art or a lost part of the hobby that, in the last 3 or 4 years, especially, people have just gotten so flip crazy that, putting together a full set seems like a silly thing to do when it's all about the trade and who wants to trade full sets, and they're bulky and hard to store and all this other stuff. Okay. Yeah. We'll get started here with the 63, Hall of Famer. So these were all in a different box. Now, the thing is this box over here that's to the right, I haven't looked at this box in 6 years. So I've not even opened this box. I don't even know what's in this box in terms of Hall of Famers, what cards I pit. It's about 80% graded, I think. When I looked at the ratio, we're like 70% graded, and then there are raw cards. So we'll look at some of the raw cards, and we'll look at some of the graded cards to see if there's some Hall of Famers in here too. But we'll start here with the cards I pulled out from my Hall of Fame box, my 60s Hall of Famer box, or cards I had on display. So here's a 63 Hank Aaron, PSA 8. Again, I love the set, so this card is one of my favorite Aaron cards, but you can see this card is really nice, a little off center, but still a very nice card. Tons of color and gloss. With the camera. Next up is the 63 Mays. Again, I've told the story where I bought this at the National. I think this is one of the nicer 63 Mays 8s I've seen. It's almost perfectly centered. Great color and gloss. I mean, you can see the gloss on the card. It's just a super nice card. I got it at a good price. I got it under VCP at the time. Again, this is around 2018. So definitely a card that I got at the sort of right before things got really nuts. Now, this card I bought kind of in that 18-19 time period. 63 Topps, 8.5 Clemente. So I had this card in 8. And for the longest time, I actually had two 63 Topps Clementes, one in 8, one in 85. And one of the reasons why I had to is the kind of the old debate around collecting a set and collecting a player. So I had, the Clemente 8, now an 8.5, and this was going to be the card that was going to go in the player set on PSA's registry, and then I was going to keep the other 63 Clemente to have it in my set registry. And, so the way it works on set registry, you can't have the same card registered in multiple sets. You have to have different cards in multiple sets. So, this card, again, is, one of those just really nice, super high gloss, great color. I mean, I don't see any chipping, and here's the back. You know, just a high-end card. Really happy I picked it up because, you know, this card blew up, you know, virtually 6 months after I bought it. Kind of wish I kept the regular 63, just have two of them, because, you know, one of the ideas going into collecting sets, you know, was around the idea of, you know, having a set registry. Now I have a lot of raw cards and some SGC cards, so, you know, that would involve me grading a lot. And then, you know, one of the things that killed my enthusiasm, especially around the, you know, 19 to 20 and 21 time period, was, you know, the unavailability of grading. And then, you know, the price of bulk grading and raw grading was so high that it just wasn't worth it. And obviously, you know, set registry is only really a PSA thing. So I'd have to go through PSA to do that. And so it just kind of like took the momentum away and just kind of made me kind of shelve this. So we'll go through these a little faster now that I've got the three big guys out of the way. Batting leaders card. So this card's cool because it's got Mickey Mantle on it. It's very interesting because there's, you know, no other Hall of Famers on this card. So very rare to see a leader card from the 60s with only one Hall of Famer, and it's Mickey Mantle, which is still a good one. Next up is a home run leaders card. And this card does have, I think, multiple Hall of Famers. It's got, I guess, you know, Roger Maris isn't a Hall of Famer, but so yeah, this is, you know, Killebrew. But, you know, Maris is very popular. Calvito is very popular. Norm Cash. So you got a lot of good players there, and it's a 7.5. So it's kind of the other mythical half grade you don't see very often is the 7.5. But cool card. And again, these are just kind of graded Hall of Famers and stars. Al Kaline in a PSA 7. Very well centered. It has that print dot there. Just a nice card. You know, I just, you know, again, you know, I'm not shooting for a straight 8 set, you know, so some cards I have in a 7, like the Maze usual card. Again, you know, if you're putting a whole set together, you definitely want to get some good value on some cards. So some of the Hall of Famers are 7s, but some are 8.5s, like this Stan Musial. Again, you know, I love the 8.5 grade, and so I've got the Clemente, now I've got the Musial and 8.5. You know, again, you know, one of those really nice cards. See the back, a little off center. You know, you see any white on these backs, you know, like any border, you don't get the miscut. You have to really have a card with no border to get an MC on the back. You know, Ron Santo. So this is like third year Ron Santo card. And I've had a lot of that card before. I mean, I've had multiple copies because when I go to Chicago, it sells so well. Okay, here's Warren Spahn. Again, a very clean and well-centered 8. So again, you know, very nice 8. Joe Torre. I don't have a ton of Joe Torre 60s cards. I think this is one of his nicer ones because I love the fact that it shows him as a catcher here. Then, you know, a nice batting pose. Just a really nice Joe Torre card. Ernie Banks. This is like one of my favorite Banks cards just because it's that batting stance. And you get the fielding stance. So cool use of the double photo. Just a great card. You know, I picked this up in Chicago at a sports fest as well. Just a great looking card. Frank Robinson, I've never liked the photo. I mean, I love I wish they would reverse the photos actually, but, you know, not my favorite photo of him, but, you know, the headshot side, but okay card. It's a little off center. You can see that. So not the greatest 8, but, you know, you to have the card is, you know, one thing, and you can upgrade if you need to. 63 Bob Gibson. This card's really tough. You know, it's card 415, so I don't know if it's technically a high number, but it's, you know, from a series that's a little harder to get. But, you know, this card's just tough to find centered. You can see this one's not perfectly centered. But that red chipping, but I love the photo on this one, the headshot, because he looks so intense. He's definitely giving you the Bob Gibson face, and I think that's great, you know, to have that intense stare. Then there's kind of the pitching photo in the inset. Next up is Cepeda. Again, you know, I like the red on these cards, very pretty. And then last but not least is Nellie Fox. So this is kind of like what I had in my box of cards I had set out. And then we'll get into what's in this, what's in the actual, you know, so a lot of these could be commons. But here is what was in the box. So we'll start here with card number 1. So this is the batting leaders National League, and this has Frank Robinson, Stan Musial, Tommy Davis, Hank Aaron, and Bill White. So you have 3 pretty big Hall of Famers on a PSA 7. A little bit of print on the card. The holder's got a little bit of, dirt on it. Again, these cards have been basically locked away for 6+ years. So there's the back. You can see card number 1. So again, cool card. And it is a 7, and it's definitely in a very old grade. Well, not very old, but it's in a little bit of an older grade as well. And so we'll go through, and so you can kind of see the cards as I go through. Tony Kubek, that's a 7.5. Bob Bruce, and so we'll just kind of run through. And there's Harvey Keene, a very good player. Casey Stengel, the Veteran Masters card. Yeah, we'll stop when we get to kind of a cool card. I like to see the team set cards or the team cards. I always thought they were cool that year. So so I have about, I think, over 50% of the set right now. Again, I got a lot of 7.5 grades. I didn't realize it's so many 7.5s. I think I had a search set up where I would just go and pull 7.5s, and then I was just, if it was a 63, I would buy it because I just like the set. And but here is Gil Hodges and Duke Snider. Cool card, friendly foe. So that's definitely a Hall of Fame card. So again, there's some Hall of Fame stuff mixed in here, so it's kind of worthwhile to go through it. But you can see just a lot of commons as well. There's a checklist, and a lot of 7. So I was definitely not going for a straight 8 because when you're doing this many cards, the cost of doing straight 8 sets is so high that for me, a lot of the commons was okay to get as a 7. Jim Gillum, Bob Veal 8 PD, which I definitely don't like that. So I don't know why I did that, but sometimes I bought cards in lots and you get cards like that. So you would get a bunch of cards and some would have qualifiers. So nothing, again, a lot of 7s, a few 6s. So again, I even reached down to the 6th grade, which you don't see me do very often. So there's a Hall of Fame. There's Robin Roberts in a PSA 7, a little off center, but again, Hall of Fame, Robin Roberts. And there is Dick Groat, first year as a Cardinal. You can tell they photoshopped the Pirate uniform off, but he went to the Cardinals and then a trade. Was a great shortstop for the Pirates, won an MVP. Had a great 60 season. So yeah. Okay, Mac Jones. So here is a World Series card. Game 4. Very cool looking card. For me, very cool card. Pirate team set card. Team card. PSA 8. So you can tell I probably made it a point to find that card in an 8. Versus Johnny Keane in a 6. We'll see if we find any more Hall of Famers. There's 2 Abby Pearsons. I don't know why, but there we go. An SGC 88 and a PSA 7. Okay. Making little piles here. All right. We'll see if we find any more Hall of Famers. Because again, I haven't seen these cards in forever. And again, any Pirate player, I definitely would want to get in an 8 just because I like the high-end Pirate players. Former Pirate, Joe Christopher. He was on that 60 team that won the World Series. All right. Eddie Fisher. So once I get through showing these cards, and it'll take a couple more minutes to get through all the graded and some of the raw cards, so I'm going to show everyone. But, there's Gil Hodges, so there you go. Just elected, I believe, Hall of Fame. Gil Hodges. I'm going to go through some kind of things I think the companies could do to kind of spur interest in set collecting, because, there's definitely a reason to set collecting. And, like how it could help the hobby. And just in general, I think set collecting is a great way for people to get into vintage, because then it forces you to kind of get every card, every Hall of Famer. Oh, that's an interesting card to be sitting in there. PSA 8 Eddie Matthews. So, yeah. So you didn't see him in the pile of cards over here. So that's interesting that Eddie Matthews is actually here, not in the Hall of Fame pile. So I'll pull him out and just kind of sit him over into that. But that's why I want to go through that, because I thought maybe I would find a couple Hall of Famers mixed in when I was putting this box together. I think I may have stuck a few Hall of Famers in there, and obviously I did. There's another one. Oops. Billy Williams. So that's a Hall of Famer. It's a 7, but still Hall of Famer. Very cool. So I'll pull him out and just put him in with the kind of like Hall of Famers. So yeah, it's kind of fun to see all these cards again, even if it's, a little bit, not spending a ton of time with everyone, but there's an SGC card again. Wanting to convert that to PSA. If I want to do a all PSA graded set. So that's one big stack. So I've got probably like another 50 or so graded cards, maybe less. It's Ralph Hoik, and so that's a 5, which is interesting for me. Don't usually see 5s in my collection. Mahaffey was an 8. Here's one that's an 8.5. Joe Kopp. Another 8 team set. Bob Otis, another 7.5. Bob Otis was on that 60 Pirate team set, that team that won the World Series. So cool to see him. There we go. So Roy Face is definitely. Let's see if I can. Let me get over here. So Roy Face, definitely a cool card if I was a Pirate fan. There is Smokey Burgess, my all-time favorite 60s non-Hall of Fame card or player. Bernie Allen, all-rookie team card. Pretty cool. Another checklist. Let's see, any other Hall of Famers? There's again another 7.5. Felix Torres. So I see some of the cards, and the thing that's funny is like I'll see a card and I'll be like, that looks like another card. And I'm like, because all the poses are so similar, it's like you get kind of the card and it kind of fools you if the player kind of has that same pose. That's that's a different player sometimes. All right, Ken McBride. Rookie star. So this is Gary Peters, Jim Rowland, Art Quick, and Mel Nelson. So cool card. Oh, and then I didn't show. I've got. Sorry for hitting the camera. I have the 63 Stargell as well. And it's kind of hanging out over here. I'll show that here in a second. So again, I have a lot of the. I don't have the two biggest cards. I guess I don't have. Is the Mantle and Rose. So again, those are the cards that will cause me the most pain to get in high grade. So I don't know what grade I'm going to get in those two cards, but it doesn't matter what it is. It's going to be expensive because those cards are expensive. 63 Koufax would be another one I'm really keen on getting. There you go, the last two. So no more straight Hall of Famers. And then I'll just give you a taste for what my going to a card show and buying raw vintage. So, here is, like this is from one dealer. I can tell, like, from the holders, like, so he had a lot of these cards just kind of hanging out a little off center, but, they present well, they're not what I call like, beaters, like here's one that's way off center. So I'd want to get that replaced. So this is like buying a collection of 60s cards, and they're in pretty good shape, but they're not perfect. And then next up, you'll see these are from a different dealer. They got sleeves on them, so you kind of see the different players. And again, I don't think I have any. And then some of these cards definitely have damage, so this would be a low grade. So some of these cards I would definitely not keep. I'm not going to keep any card that's going to be like a 4 or 5 unless maybe it's super expensive. So those cards will be upgraded eventually. So you kind of see Yeah, here's like a rookie stars. Martin, Spencer. So you can see like no big stars here, but a lot of pretty nice finish. I mean, a lot of centering issues. And so when you buy graded, you can. Well, there's a Pirate Manager, Danny Murtaugh, Tony Kubek again. Lindy McDaniel came back a miscut. So I don't know, like if someone tried to grade it, I'm sure that I probably did not try to get that graded. So there you go. Yeah, so that's a flavor. There's a Boot Pal. Cool card. All right, so what can companies do, and how can we spur more, this kind of like set collecting? Well, I think the radical thing I would suggest first is Topps to quit making team sets, box sets. Because to me, that's the lazy way of putting together a full set. You just go out and buy the box set, which didn't exist. The first box set came out in 74, and then I think 81 was, the next, full set that came out, I think 81. But anyway, those box sets have really hurt to me, the set collecting, because why buy the new Topps set because you're just going to get the box set if you're a set collector. So I would, if I was Topps, I would stop the printing of the box sets, the full sets, and then I would incentivize collectors for putting the full set together. Just like ePack has rewards, you could actually, redeem a full set for, the full set that's stamped or other prizes. But I think you could incentivize these collectors to put full sets together, because I feel like it's there. Like they want to do it if they had some other reason to do it other than just having the cards. I don't know if you guys remember back in the old days of Bowman, they had that Bowman guarantee where if you had the full set, you could send it in. I think it was like $120. I'll try to see if I can find that Bowman guarantee and put it on the screen. But, that's been something that's already been done. But, I don't know how effective it was, how many people turned their sets in. But the idea was like, you put a set together from any manufacturer and you would get a prize, or you would get something for your troubles. And I think that would be something, I think, fun to do again. But who knows? Like, if anyone will actually do it, because of, the hobby is kind of in, like now, maybe not so much, but in the past, the hobby was in such a good shape that, who cared about, set collecting and feeding that beast. I think right now, if I was PSA, if I was SGC, so if I was PSA, what I would do is I would incentivize again set collectors. I would definitely do more specials on set collecting for commons. I would have cash prizes for people who complete sets, especially big, long, expensive sets. Like, let's say you put together a really tough, like big set, like a 83 Topps set, all graded. Crazy, right? Someone does that, you should definitely have some sort of reward, a voucher, something for the people who do that to keep incentivizing, because for PSA and these grading companies, you need people to grade commons. That's going to be a lot of bulk grading. That's going to be easy money for you guys, for the graders. And same way for the other companies, they need to start their registries. They need to incentivize collectors to collect, put sets together. And again, companies like Panini and Topps and Upper Deck, keep, have rewards out there. Topps Chrome already did something similar this year where, the buybacks, or you could, send in, different players and you would get, some sort of, reward. Again, I think that's all great and will push collectors to think more seriously about set collecting. Because to me, at the end of the day, like you want people to set collect, you want people to have graded commons, you want to feed this other side of the hobby, because a lot of people built collections and made a lot of money by getting hard to find commons and getting them graded and selling them to set collectors. But there's no market for it, then that whole grading part of the hobby and business model goes away, and that would be another avenue for people to kind of make a little bit of money as well. So that's my take. That's my collection. Hope you guys liked it. Let me know in your comments what you think could spur set collecting and why it's important to the hobby. And I'll see you next time in Cards and Comics. Bye.